Much of the security material we've discussed so far helps to protect your data, your system, and resources when particular events occur. Authentication helps identify and verify clients as connections are opened, and authorization helps secure access to one or more resources with each request. But if something bad were to happen, let's say a rogue client spawns multiple topics and produces fake messages, or someone repeatedly tries to open many connections in quick succession using invalid credentials in an attempt to exhaust broker resources, how would you know your system had been targeted? Who was involved, and the sequence of events that led to your current unfortunate state? Or let's say you wanted to troubleshoot a configuration change. Let's say you added some new users or groups, and you want to make sure they have the access to the correct topics. This is where audit logs come in. Conceptually, audit logs are pretty straightforward. Inside each topic, you have a stream of the permission checks that occur as the user or application attempts to take action that has been protected by your ACLs or RBAC policies. Audit logs also track operations to create, delete, and modify Confluent Cloud resources, such as API keys, Kafka clusters, user accounts, service accounts, single sign-on, connections, and connectors. These records contain a timestamp of what happened, when it happened, who did it, as well as other useful data. There are four main advantages of using audit logs. First, they give you insight. They provide insight into situations such as trying to determine if a particular group of users was successful in authenticating and getting access to the correct broker resources after a new ACL was created. Two, they improve security. They enhance security by letting you identify anomalies and unauthorized operations in the historical record so that you can take action as quickly as possible. In the event of a security breach, audit logs provide an official record and help forensically piece together what happened. Number three, they help you understand impact. They let you see who, as well as which services have been impacted by unusual activities, so that you can communicate with stakeholders as the situation progresses. Number four, they help with compliance. If you are in an industry that is highly regulated, such as financial services, healthcare, government, energy, or high tech, you'll have certain standards that you are required to meet. Audit logs provide a data-documented method of proving compliance. At the end of the day, audit logs give us a more holistic view of what's happening in our cluster and allow us to take informed action when needed. Within Confluent Cloud, audit logs are captured by default and stored in a Kafka topic, and as such, can be queried or processed like any other Kafka topic. This allows for near real-time detection of anomalous audit log events. All audit log messages from your clusters are retained for 7 days on an independent cluster. If 7 days is not sufficient for your needs, we recommend replicating your logs to another cluster or external system. Users cannot modify, delete, or produce messages directly to the audit log topic. And to consume messages, users must have an API key specific to the audit log cluster. To provide industry-backed standardization, the audit log uses the Cloud Events specification to determine the syntax of the logs. Cloud Events is a vendor-neutral specification that defines the format of event data, and that is rapidly becoming the industry standard for describing event data. If you've ever used open source or even Confluent platform versions of Kafka, you most likely had to deal with provisioning disk space for logs, trying to consolidate your logs from multiple brokers, and setting up log4j to capture your logs. Confluent Cloud handles all of this for you. After you have set up and configured your cluster, you can start viewing your logs, exporting them, and analyzing just as you might any other Kafka topic. There are three main types of audit logs: authentication events, which are recorded when a client connects to a Kafka cluster; authorization events, recorded when a user tries to perform an action like altering a config file, creating a partition, etc., and organization events, recorded when a Confluent Cloud service performs an operation or an action, like creating a new Kafka cluster. To see a list of events that are recorded and some specific examples, be sure to check out the audit logs section of the Confluent Cloud documentation. Each event includes context and data about what happened, complete with a unique identifier and the event source, or where the event took place. There are two main sections for each event: event context metadata about the event, including the source, type of event, data context type, subject and time, and event data details about the event data, including the service name, the method name, and resource name, authentication, authorization, and request. Keep in mind that each audit log record does not contain the contents of the event. Each record only informs you that an event happened and only contains metadata about the event context and the event data. Let's take a look at what an audit record looks like. First, we'll take a look at the event context data. The source of the auditable event message is defined in the Confluent resources name, or CRN, which shows that the event occurred in the Kafka cluster LKC-A1B2S. The type of event, io.confluent.kafka server/authorization, indicates that the auditable event message was triggered as a result of an authorization check. The time shows the timestamp for the authorization event. In the event data properties section, the data payload includes event data details for the authorization event. The service name shows the event occurred in the Kafka cluster LKC-A1B2S. The method name shows the authorization was for creating a topic. The resource name tells us the topic name is departures. The authentication info shows that the authenticated user account was 123456. The authorization info section shows that the authorization was granted to run the operation describe configs on the topic departures. The request section includes the request correlation identifier, or the unique ID of the specific request, and the client identifier, or telling you where the request came from. While this example covered an authorization event, you'd see similar fields in both authentication and organizational event types. For a more in-depth overview of all three, I highly recommend checking out the Confluent Cloud documentation. Each event type is broken down and specific examples of successes and failures are given. The list of events that are available in an audit log is constantly being updated, so be sure to reference the documentation often. As was mentioned earlier, audit logs are only retained for 7 days. For some organizations, having 7 days of log history will be enough. However, for organizations that would like to retain more than that, there are a couple different options. First, it's important to remember that audit logs are stored in a Kafka topic. This means that, like any other topic, you can replicate and export these logs to another cluster or external system. The best way to export your logs would be to use a self-managed sync connector or to replicate the audit logs into a managed Kafka cluster. Then you can use a security information and event management, or SIM software, to manage logs and create alerts. This also allows you to create filters and a retention policy that aligns with your business needs. Be sure to review the documentation for more information. If you're looking for a great tutorial, be sure to check out Johnny Mirza's blog post, Visualize Logs for Simplified Security in Confluent Cloud. Audit logs are an important way to monitor and maintain your secure cluster. Having insight into what is happening in your cluster, allowing you to check in on how secure things are, tracking any issues and solutions to make sure they are correct, and providing you with a digital paper trail to prove compliance.